The post office needs to come under the spotlight again, and the proposed reduction of 2/3 of the workforce at the post office to cover costs associated with the Horizon scandal is a stark indication of the far-reaching consequences of this disgraceful debacle. This move raises critical questions about the ability of the post office to continue fulfilling its fundamental role of managing the mail and providing essential services, especially in rural and underserved communities. The cuts, which may affect around 2,100 jobs, are part of a strategic review led by interim chairman Nigel Railton and are currently under discussion with the government. The goal appears to be to reduce costs by more than £200 million, which could potentially be reallocated to improve the pay of sub-postmasters. However, these sub-postmasters, who operate most of the UK's branches, have long been victims of the Horizon scandal, where faulty software led to the wrongful prosecution of 900 individuals. The proposal might further damage trust among those who rely on the post office, given the spectre of branch closures and reduced hours, particularly in rural areas. The Horizon inquiry, currently scrutinising post office operations and led by Chief Executive Nick Reed, has further underscored systemic issues within the organisation. Reed, who has been criticised for his alleged obsession with securing higher pay, is facing questions about his leadership in the middle of these drastic cuts. This adds another layer of irony, a chief executive wanting pay rises at a time when the organisation faces a crisis of public confidence and financial stability. The significant pay packages requested by Reed, reportedly raised from $415,000 to cover $1 million, contrast sharply with the austerity imposed on the organisation, exacerbating public scepticism. The future sustainability of the post office is now entirely in question. With fewer than 120 Crown post offices remaining, any further reduction risks undermining the post office's ability to deliver basic services. These cuts could further isolate rural communities that depend on the post office, not only for mail, but also for access to banking and essential services. And this is more than a budgetary issue. It's about the institution's commitment to fulfilling its founding purpose. It's quite extraordinary when you look for a post office. You see, oh, a post office is near me, and you go along to the post office and you expect to be able to use its banking facilities. No, it's a post office in name only. It accepts post, and it holds post. That is it. It doesn't have any post office organisation. It's madness. The impending cuts also raise philosophical questions about the post office's mandate and relevance in the 21st century. Should it continue to try to fulfil its traditional role, or should it evolve to focus on more profitable ventures? Cheating the public. Moreover, what about the notion of public service? It seems to have given that up. Paula Venables could perhaps give sermons about public service from her pulpit. The post office, as a publicly owned entity, has a responsibility to its constituents. Reducing services could be seen as abandoning the very communities it was designed to serve, particularly as alternatives such as digital services and private delivery firms are not always viable substitutes, especially in less connected regions. The post office needs to pull its socks up, pull its pants up, and recognise that it is a service industry, and stop trying to tyrannize the people who use it. The banks need to do the same thing. And it's tiresome being patronized by organizations that don't do their job. Banks, post offices, these are service industries. And if they can't serve, they're probably better just close, and we ought to find an alternative. The situation is indeed a sword of Damocles over the heads of postmasters and staff, as noted by MP James Cartledge. The essence of the post office lies in its accessibility and its trustworthiness, particularly in rural areas where it often serves as a lifeline. If the cuts proceed as outlined, the post office risks becoming a diminished version of itself, potentially failing in its role as a universal service provider. As these changes unfold, it will be essential for the government and the post office to consider whether such deep cuts align with the institution's mission. The cost of addressing the Horizon scandal is severe, but the erosion of a public institution that communities rely on could have even longer-lasting ramifications. This is a service which has been badly mismanaged. And it's extraordinary that even at this point, there seem to be no prosecutions and no one is really held to account. We need to ensure that the post office survives, because a future without the post office is not a future that is very attractive. We're already in a position where we have a future where we have a future without proper banks, because we're told the post office will pick up the threads, the slack, but the post office doesn't. Now the post office wants to cut itself to pieces, trim its actions. What are we going to be left with?